Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we do an early December garden tour. So let's go. We got our first snow of the season, and I thought it would be really nice to just walk you around the yard and show you how things are looking. Today is December 3rd. Tomorrow is my birthday, December 4th. I turn 53 years old, and I always tell people you're never too old to try new things. So I am trying out one of these little selfie sticks or whatever you call them. I'm so old-fashioned, so old-school, but I figured it's better now or never. But no more of looking at me. Let's turn the camera around, and I'm going to show you what's going on. Here we are at my side porch. I decided this year not to go all out when it comes to container pots or decorations. I'm going to tell you why. During the middle of November, I was gone for a week. My daughter and I were in California. She was doing an interview for vet school, and then we took advantage of it, and we went ahead and did some sightseeing. So then after that, both my kids were home. My son came home from college, and we just spent a lot of good quality time together. Also, from middle to end of December, my family will be very busy. When both kids come home from school, we have a lot of things planned. So for this year, I decided to take a break. What I'll do for inspiration is put a link to a video that I made down below showing some container pots that I made for my porch 1 or 2 years ago. As we head off of my side porch and to my side walkway, what I'll do is pop up on the screen earlier this morning when I was out here shoveling. I think we maybe only got about 5 inches of snow, but it was a very heavy, very wet snow. So you'll see in the video that the snow was sticking to the shovel. A lot of times you can spray a shovel with Pam spray or put butter on it, something that will make the snow slip off of it a little easier. And since this was the first snow of the season, I forgot about that. So I was struggling a little bit with the snow sticking to the shovel, but that's okay. I eventually got the job done, and I tell you, I'm no longer a spring chicken. I got pretty tired after just doing this one small walkway. This is what the side walkway flower bed looks like with it all covered with snow. It's very pretty, but I want you to see that all of my dianthus that was at the base here is covered. There really isn't much in terms of evergreen interest when you live here in New England and you get a lot of snow like this. The only thing that actually is still standing, and even then, most of this will be covered by the end of winter, is this rhododendron. It's a small leaf rhododendron. If you're new to my channel or you just want a refresher of what my gardens look like during the spring, summer, and fall months, I'll put links to those videos down below because I think it's good to look at this tour, even though it's wintertime, and then compare how these spaces look like during different times of the year because they change quite drastically actually. When you hop over to the other side of the side walkway bed here, I call this the old arborvitae bed, and one of you suggested a different name for this bed. I don't know what to name it, so I'm looking for suggestions. Please drop a comment below if you have an idea of what I can call this rather than the old arborvitae bed. The old arborvitae bed has some small leaf rhododendrons towards the center of it. However, later in the winter, all of these will get covered as well. I don't protect them. I don't put any sort of covering on them, and they usually do just fine. If where you live you don't get snow, you might be wondering, what are these ugly looking sticks? When it comes to cleaning our driveway, my husband and I just want to know where the driveway or walkway end and where the flower beds or the lawn begin, just so that by mistake we're not driving over any of the flower beds or the lawn with our snowblower or our tractor. I have to admit, so far I do like this selfie stick or stabilizer, whatever you call it. I feel like my videos are not going to be as shaky as they usually are, but I digress. So as we move away from the side walkway bed as well as the old arborvitae bed, over here at the end of my driveway is a barn. And inside the barn is my husband's car, but also we keep a lot of gardening tools and just all sorts of junk stored inside of there. So it is important for us to clear in front of the barn during the winter months, just so that a car can fit in that space. And right next to the barn is a small shed that we put in place a few years ago, and that just has more garden tools in it. But it also has a tractor in there, which is really nice because, well, I'll tell you that in a little bit. So as we continue moving this way, there is my fire pit and my raised beds, and you can see that things are all covered up in there. And again, this is just our first snowstorm, so it will be fully covered up later in the winter. I'm just panning you around. So let's continue going down my driveway. So here's where I'm going to share a funny story, although it's not really that funny. My husband was snow blowing, and you can see the snow blower in the distance there. And like I mentioned, it's a very heavy, very wet snow, and we have a long driveway. The snow blower's belt is not working quite properly. So my husband had to pull out his tractor to help move the snow. And sometimes I wonder if the tractor was a waste of money or a waste of investment for our yard. But let me tell you, today it was a lifesaver. There is no way we could have shoveled all of this without having a heart attack. So I'm so glad that he was able to do that. We still need to come back outside and continue cleaning little areas of snow around the house. But I thought it's nice to just walk around the yard and show you how things are looking. So the temperatures are going to get very cold in the next few days. Nighttime temperatures are going to be single digits, like 1 or 3 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's always good to come in and kind of scrape up some of the snow off the driveway. We're hoping that the sun will melt some of it right now. If we don't do that, this basically freezes solid to ice. And our driveway is very, very steep. So it's very important to make sure that we clean the driveway as nicely as we can and make it as black as we can. So when we head away from the barn and the shed, that is the long border. I'm going to walk over the snow, and I want to bring you up close up just so you can see what it looks like. I am wearing my boots because you can't do a job like this without boots. In fact, I was also wearing my snow pants. You might have seen it in the video. Thank goodness for snow pants. It just keeps the legs warm. And they were dirty because I had worked in my plant nursery just the other day. And I'll show you that in a bit. Over there is my compost pile. For this year, I really didn't work on my compost, and that's okay. There's always next year. These are some hydrangeas that I have. They don't look like much. In fact, when you look at the hydrangeas and you look behind them, you'll see that where I live in a very wooded area. And I often look at videos that talk about winter interest. And I struggle with that in my yard for the simple reason that I feel like I have winter interest in my yard. It's basically what Mother Nature has dealt me. I have all these trees. So even if I came in with a whole bunch of evergreens, yes, it would look pretty, but I'm not quite sure if I personally would enjoy those evergreens, given that there's all these trees behind them. And not only that, when the temperatures are so cold and we're getting all this snow around the yard, the last thing I want to do is walk around, let's say on a weekly basis, and look at my winter interest. But if I lived in an area where I wasn't surrounded by trees or I didn't get as much snow, it might be different. But I do have some winter interest, I guess, here that you can see. I left up a couple of trellises and they have some clematis on them, and they look really pretty. As we walk around, I can enjoy that. And then we also have a number of shrubs or bushes. There's a forsythia right there, but then we also have a lot more of the small leaf rhododendrons. I have a ton of small leaf rhododendrons around my yard because I got them from my late mother-in-law's home. They were very small when I got them, and they have gotten bigger over time. And then I'm just going to walk you around the long border. We often talk about leaving a lot of our perennials up for winter interest, but I've mentioned this in my videos before. Because we get so much snow here, many of those perennials get covered by the snow. And when it comes to any insects that are living or burrowing inside of any of those types of perennials, I really feel strongly that there are a lot of areas still left where a lot of those insects can overwinter without a problem. But it's amazing how the blanket of snow makes my long border look so quiet and tucked in for the winter. As we head down my driveway on the left-hand side, this is what I call my backyard plant nursery. I was out here quite a bit during the last week doing some final cleanup and tuck-in of my perennial plants. Some of you have asked me before, what do I do for the winter when it comes to tucking in my perennial plants? Well, I don't cover them. The snow covers them. All I do is heel the plants in, which means I sink the potted plants into the ground. And that's it. And I have to tell you that I am so glad that we got the snow. In previous years, we get that really cold weather. When I say really cold, single digits or even negative degrees Fahrenheit. And when you don't have any snow cover, those plants are not protected. They're fully exposed. But with this snow cover, even though snow is cold, the snow cover insulates all the plants in the garden, not just the plants in my plant nursery, but all the plants around my whole property. So I am very thankful for the snow that we got. It's going to insulate my plants nicely before the cold weather arrives. I mentioned we have a long driveway, and not only is it long, it's very steep. So it goes all the way down to where you see that black road there. And on the right-hand side, that's just a sand bucket or sand barrel that we have. It has a small shovel in there so that we can sand our driveway. It makes it easier for us to come up and down our driveway, but also anyone else that's visiting. As we swing over here, this is what I call my driveway flower bed. It doesn't look like much because of the snow cover. The only thing that you notice here is there's a hydrangea in the middle, and it's gone dormant for the season. It's dropped all its leaves. But again, I recommend you go back to the videos down below so you can see all these different flower beds. I try to name them so you can kind of match them up. So this one is called the driveway flower bed. And as I swing around, yes, maybe it would be nice if I did have some evergreens in here to add a little bit of interest towards the front of some of these flower beds. And those are things that I can think about. But again, these are so far away. These flower beds are not very close to my house. So I'm going to slowly swing you around so you can see where my house is. It's basically up that hill right there. So I'm not normally in the wintertime looking out my window down here or walking down here. Although with that said, I would like to get some exercise this year, and I have snowshoes, and I'm thinking of just walking around my property and getting exercise that way. So it might force me to actually look at my garden during the winter months. This flower bed here is a semicircle type of flower bed, and this is called my lilac flower bed. And that's because there's a big lilac tree in the center there. Many of these areas that I'm showing you are packed with all sorts of spring bulbs or perennials that are herbaceous, which means they die back to the ground. So the only thing that you might see that's still standing up above the ground here are some yucca plants. One thing that I used to love doing when my kids were little, especially my daughter and I, was we used to come around the yard after the snowfall, and we just used to walk around and look at any sorts of little prints from animals, footprints that animals have left behind. So clearly something came trudging or tracking through the snow here. And it's just so fun to see that. So as we walk around the yard, I think we'll follow along and see where these tracks go. And I wonder what the animal is. Maybe it's a squirrel or it could be a deer. Not quite sure, but it doesn't look like it was with any friends. But when we move this way, yes, there's some evergreens here, but again, I'm going to show you. For me to have them look half decent, I have to come out here every time it snows to deal with this. So these are some boxwoods, and I want you to see this heavy snow cover. I could come out here with like a broom and shake off the snow cover. I could have also come out here and covered these, maybe put some burlap around them, but that's why they're just weighing down the way they are. And I have another one that's right over here. They do look pretty, for sure. I do enjoy them with the snow cover on them. And then again, as we swing this way, there's the front of my house. And let's head up there just so I can show you what's happening. So this is what I call my bay window flower bed. And I want you to notice again, the snow cover totally pushes down on this boxwood. So I need to come out here and just shake off all of the snow to help it. And that's a lot of work because just coming out and cleaning the snow is a lot of work. So can you imagine if I had 50 or 40 boxwoods all around my yard for winter interest? Now I got to come out here and shake all of them off. I don't know about that. So here we have some Montauk daisy that I left up. And I mostly left it up because I wanted to collect the seeds off of it. That's been a question some of you have asked me, is after a frost or a freeze has hit the plants, can you still collect the seeds off of them? You can, absolutely. So go ahead and keep collecting those seeds. In fact, I'm hoping to find some seeds on my Montauk daisies. Whew, I'm out of breath. It's a workout, you know, walking around in the snow. My goodness, the walkway. So I'm going to show you or pop up on the screen what the walkway looked like earlier when it was covered in snow. And my husband had asked me to come out here and just shovel this because, again, the snow blower or the tractor cannot reach in this area. And I wanted to show you an area that just does not do well in terms of the snow and the ice. It's right here. You can imagine this is just our first snow that we've received. And look at the small layer of ice. What we have to do is we will be putting a bucket right there, and that bucket will have sand mixed with salt in it. So we need to sand and salt this area. But what happens every winter, no matter how much we treat it, is even the ice ends up down here. It's very dangerous. So we often don't want anyone using our front door. There really isn't a lot of motivation for me to decorate this and make this look pretty because by probably January, we won't even bother cleaning our walkway. So it's not worth the effort to make this area look really pretty. This is where I have a little pond, and you wouldn't know it except for right there. That's where the rocks are. And it's all covered with snow. We still have more cleanup to do down there. The other thing I like to do up along my walkway is just shovel out any of the landscape lighting that I have. And this is a big reason why I don't have a ton of landscape lighting around my yard, because then I have to come in and shovel them out. If I don't shovel them out, then they're just going to get frozen solid for the winter. So let's head back this way. And we are now heading towards my backyard. This is where I had a bunch of large trees cut down over the last year or two. So as we head in this direction, I'm noticing the trail for that little animal, whatever that animal is. It goes around this tree and it heads, if you can see it, it goes out that way. So it was having fun in the snow. And then we're just going to keep on going towards my backyard. Mr. Budget Gardener said, "Really? You're going to show our yard with snow in it? How exciting is that?" But I think it's exciting. I mean, I like walking around my yard and just more than anything looking at the little footprints of different animals. But it is fun to show you how things look in this garden because, again, maybe where you live, you don't get snow. This is my rose garden. I don't do anything special with my roses when it comes to end of fall care. I just leave the leaves on there, and I really have not had any issues with black spot or anything like that. So I keep it very low maintenance. And then over here, this is where I had all my vegetable plants. So it's my raised vegetable garden. And what I did with 4 of the 6 raised beds was I healed in a whole bunch of perennial plants that were in little container pots, and they are all hidden, tucked away for the winter. Here in the backyard, things are looking pretty quiet. I do have some small leaf rhododendron right over there, and they do provide a little bit of interest. But again, like I said, I really rely heavily on just the trees in the background to provide that winter interest for me. And then as we swing this way, just some more little shrubs that I have here, mostly small leaf rhododendrons, and I also have some Miss Kim lilacs there. And I'm noticing the area where our little critter friend walked. They walked this way. But then there was another friend right over there. It's fun to see a blanket of snow just like this, but then knowing that there are little animals that are still scurrying around the yard. And then just wondering what those animals are. For example, this one here might have been a squirrel or something. The tracks are much smaller. But I'll definitely plan on putting my snowshoes on and just walking around up in these areas here. When my daughter was younger, we just used to love doing that for exercise. And not only that, it was just so fun to just walk around the yard and take it all in. So this is what my backyard looks like. If I swing around right over there, that is my barn, and then you can see my house. We're just going to walk the rest of the perimeter of the yard. This isn't your traditional garden tour, that's for sure. But it is nice to just show you, in general, some of the winter interest happening in here. I mean, even just having birdhouses on the trees is pretty. And we have a lot more, again, rhododendrons, forsythia. Speaking of forsythia, since we've had a number of freezes, I will be coming out very soon and doing hardwood cuttings. I love doing hardwood cuttings of lots of plants. And I've made videos showing the process before, but I'll make more this year. So in case you want to take some hardwood cuttings, you can follow along. And that's just the back of my house, covered with snow. Something that does look really pretty, and I wish I had more of it in my yard, is right there. That is a larger leaf rhododendron. And it looked very glossy, very pretty for a number of days. But as soon as the cold hit, the leaves just flopped like that. But nevertheless, it is green and very pretty. One thing that I still need to do, and again, I'm just taking a little bit of a break, is remove the snow from this balcony as well as that balcony up there. If I don't remove the snow from the balconies, it just puts a lot of weight on them, and that's not good. So it is important to remove the snow. And not only that, just for a fire hazard, for whatever reason, if we had to use this door, I don't want this area covered in snow and ice. Normally what happens later in the winter is we get a lot of icicles up here. So we are going to have to come in and tackle those as the icicles appear. I do have bird feeders up there. I like to watch the birds off my bedroom. And not only that, it's good to keep the bird feeders up high so the bear can't get to them. We have heating cables up here as well as on the other side because we found that sometimes ice accumulates. So we need to turn the heating cables on so that the ice doesn't accumulate and come into the house. Let's head down that way. So we're basically heading now towards what I call my hosta garden. It's very shady in this area, although you wouldn't know it fully by looking at it. But trust me, this area definitely gets quite a bit of shade. So as we peek around the corner, that's what the hosta garden looks like right now. Pretty quiet and sleeping. This over here is just a door that goes down to my basement. And then as we head back up that way, that's my side porch. And we are back where we started, at the side walkway bed. I just made a video yesterday with winter sowing, and you saw me right here, and there are some milk jugs in there. Well, you can't see them right now, and those winter sown milk jugs will be perfectly fine hidden under the snow cover. Something that Mr. Budget Gardener and I put up every year is our heated bird bath. I need to do two things. I normally like to just shovel a path leading up to the bird bath, because eventually this area gets filled with snow pretty high up. And not only that, the birds have been coming like crazy and drinking water out of my heated bird bath. So I just need to come out and add a little bit more water in there. I hope you enjoyed this early December garden tour. And I'll definitely keep you updated on what's happening in my garden as the winter progresses. But as many of you know, I've already started winter sowing. I'm going to continue doing that. I like to do it in little increments, so I hope you follow along. And before you know it, it's going to be time to start seeds indoors as well. I hope you're able to get out in your garden, and until the next video, make it a great day with gardening. If you have a short hair cat, like I do, this is what I make for them every winter. And actually, I usually have something a little different, but you'll get the idea in a minute. We have a blanket here, and if you open up the blanket, yeah, I know. Hi, Winnie. Wait, there she is. So she is loving her life. She's on this little blanket here, and her head is right near a heat vent that's in the ground. So what it does, and we call these little heat huts, she just goes in there and it just holds the heat. And when she gets too hot, she jumps up on this blanket over here. So I just wanted to show you Winnie and what Winnie's doing. Now we're upstairs looking out at my front yard. You would just think that this is one big area of snow. You would never know that there are a whole bunch of perennials tucked in there also. And now we're upstairs off of my balcony. And I do love feeding my birds. We have an eastern bluebird right there. And what I find with the birdhouses that I have around my yard is that they like to go in there during those really cold days, and they just hide in there. In fact, I can see I need to fill up this bird feeder right here, so I'm going to do that once I turn the camera off. And I still need to clean the snow off of this balcony, which is why I have a shovel right there. But I just wanted to show you, when I'm upstairs looking down, what my backyard looks like. It actually looks very serene, very pretty. And I have a platform feeder over there that as soon as it snows, it gets covered up. So part of cleaning snow is just cleaning off the platform feeder. Okay, my little birds, time to feed you.